What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Rue. If you're coming over from TikTok, please hit the subscribe button because this is going to be the channel where we're going to be able to expound into subjects deeper, and you're going to be able to actually take in information and use it in the real world. But with that being said, let's get into the video. Today's topic, we're going to be dealing with these lost gospels, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Peter, and why these gospels aren't in our Bible. So the reason this subject came up, somebody actually commented on my last YouTube video a couple days ago, and they asked this: why were the Gospels of Peter and Thomas not included in the Bible? And how can Paul speak for Christ when he never met him? So first we're going to deal with the Gospel of Peter, Gospel of Thomas, why they're not in the Bible. And then I'm going to just real quick show this guy that Paul actually did meet Jesus. I don't know where this misconception came from, but Paul definitely met Jesus, and we know that. So we'll show that at the end of the video, but right now we're going to deal with the Gospel of Peter, Gospel of Thomas, why they're not in our Bible. The number one reason why these supposed Gospels are not in our Bible is because these aren't even first century documents. These documents aren't even written in the same century that Jesus was alive in. For example, all four of the Gospels that we have in our Bible are first century documents. Some people even say written within 10 years of the life of Jesus when it comes to the Gospel of Mark. But all four Gospels that we have are first century documents that claim to be eyewitness accounts or accounts of eyewitness accounts of Jesus' life. Gospel of Peter, Gospel of Thomas aren't written until the mid-2nd century. So these couldn't be eyewitness accounts of the life of Jesus because everyone who witnessed Jesus' life or knew Jesus was dead by the time these documents were written. Number two, if you would simply just read these documents, you can tell that these are not the same thing we got going on with the four Gospels we have in our Bible today. For example, in the Gospel of Peter, this supposed gospel actually gives us an account, supposedly, of Jesus coming out of the tomb. So in our four Gospels, we don't have Jesus actually coming out of the tomb. We have the stone already rolled away and the women showing up and Jesus' body being gone. But supposedly, this Gospel of Peter gives us insight into Jesus coming out of the tomb. But the Jesus that comes out of the tomb is a little different than the resurrected Jesus we see in the Gospels. This Jesus in the Gospel of Peter, his head is higher than the clouds. He's a giant Jesus. And not only that, but the cross comes hovering out of the grave with Jesus. So you have a giant Jesus and a hovering cross coming out of the grave with Jesus. Not only is this cross hovering, the cross actually speaks. So just a quick note, generally when a Roman crucifixion happened, you wouldn't actually put the cross that you crucified the man on in the tomb with him. You usually just leave it where it's at, but that's besides the point. But yeah, that goes down in chapter 10, verse 39 through 42. If you want to go look into that, you can look it up. But as you can see, this is not the same thing we have going on in the four Gospels that we have in our Bible today. You can tell these are not authentic. These don't have the same divine marks, the same divine qualities that the four Gospels that we have. And they don't line up with the four Gospels that we have. Jesus isn't a giant, and the cross doesn't go into the tomb with Jesus and come out speaking. So number one, they're not first century documents. Number two, when you read them, you can tell they're not authentic. And real quick, just to answer the second part of the comment that Paul never met Jesus. So in Acts chapter 9, Paul and Jesus actually meet. So starting at verse 3, as he journeyed, he came near Damascus. That's Paul, still called Saul at this time. And suddenly a light shone around him from heaven. Then he fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And Saul said, Who are you, Lord? Then the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. So he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what do you want me to do? Then the Lord said to him, Arise, go into the city, and you will be told what you must do. And also in 1 Corinthians 9:1, Paul says this, Am I not free? Am I not an apostle? Have I not seen Jesus our Lord? So brother, I don't know where that misconception came from, but Paul definitely met Jesus. It's accounted to heavily in the New Testament.